There's an extremely concerning story out there, and if you haven't heard about it, you need to start reading up.
Thought the Green New Deal was epically moronical. You will not believe the insanity happening in Ireland. Farmers there are revolting against a proposal by the government to kill 200,000 cows, all to meet the EU's climate goals.
Elon Musk called out the absurdity, saying this really needs to stop. Killing some cows doesn't matter for climate change.
The Environmental Protection Agency out of Ireland released a report back in February calling for a 30% cull in their cattle population. An Environmental Protection Agency report calling for a 30% cut in the national herd, according to Deputy Collins, is a vicious strike against the heart of rural Ireland, and he has called on the Minister for Agriculture, Charlie McConalogue, to take action. This report, compiled by the EPA, a government agency, lays bare the devastating impact of the government's radical green policies on Irish farming. The proposals, which aim to reduce the national herd by 30%, will destroy the livelihoods of Irish beef, dairy, and sheep farmers and compromise the very food production that our nation depends on. If these proposals are implemented, rural Ireland will face mass destruction. The report calls for a reduction in livestock numbers and a quadrupling of forestry cover, together with rewetting 90% of reclaimed land, which will have a devastating impact on our communities, homes, and traditions. The authors of the report seem to have no regard for the people who call rural Ireland home, as their proposals would turn it into a national park. The government, he said, has lost touch with rural Ireland, as evidenced by the creation of this report, which was funded by taxpayer money, and their plans to hammer farmers with emission reductions targets of 25%. The world needs more food, not less, and it is unjust to restrict food production and leave land unused. We demand an unequivocal statement from the Minister of Agriculture assuring us that no reductions in cattle, pigs, goats, and sheep will be considered or implemented, and that the report will be immediately disregarded and incinerated. That was back in February. The problem now is that the Irish government is actually planning on following through with a cull of 10% of the nation's dairy cattle. There's a few things that are concerning here. First of all, in this report, it calls for a reduction in livestock numbers and the quadrupling of forestry cover, together with rewetting 90% of reclaimed land. Where are they going to get the land? They're going to reclaim it from the farmers that they put out of business by destroying their cattle. Let's say this happened in the United States. The whole climate change initiative is a way that the government could come in and try to legally justify an unconstitutional move of stealing land from private entities in the name of doing what's best for society. If that's not the most Marxist thing I've ever seen, but this is how they're going to do it. It's going to be in the case of what? National security. And they're going to start reclaiming land from private entities, small farmers more than likely, putting them out of business, and making it to where you can't touch this land. Even, by the way, national parks are taxpayer funded. It's supposed to be all of our land, and it's not. It's funny how that seems to work. The communist ideology is, oh, it's not yours, it's ours, it's everybody's. Yet, the only people that ever get to use it are the controlling powers in the government. So it's not ours, it's theirs now. This is a way that the government can start justifying redistribution of assets. It's also a way to increase control over a population. Dairy products is a major part of our food supply. All of our milk, all of the cheese, all of the yogurt, things like that, most of it comes from cattle. And to even propose a plan, such as killing off 10% of your nation's industry, is downright crazy. It's insane. And the fact that a government entity can come in and tell a private industry that they have to abide by this in the name of climate change is even scarier. First of all, Ireland exported dairy to 147 different countries. And now those nations, plus Ireland itself, will have to make up for lost supply elsewhere. Remember, increasing imports of a product that you at the same time are reducing domestic production of has a multiple negative impact on a country's GDP. It also will increase the global prices of dairy products, because this isn't even going to stop in Ireland. This is going to go to every nation. And the stupid thing is that if you actually look at the nations with the highest carbon footprint compared to the nations with the largest population of cattle, there's no correlation outside of the top three, who is the United States, China, and India. But the other thing that they fail to realize is that those countries have the highest population of people as well. The even stupider thing of this is that all the shit that cows take, and supposedly all the greenhouse gas emissions they make, is actually highly important to producing our crops. So for all of you I only eat organic people out there, how do you think they fertilize your food? This isn't just going to stop at the dairy cows, by the way, because they've already proposed it on the total cattle industry, but they're going to find the next animal. And it's very crazy because now that whole cricket protein bar conspiracy sounds a lot more realistic. Are we really just going to allow this climate initiative to destroy our global food supply? That seems pretty counterintuitive, doesn't it? Isn't the entire goal of climate change to save the planet and avoid some mass extinction? So we're just going to starve people to death in order to do so? Why don't we just nuke ourselves for, just get it over with? The other thing you got to realize too is we need cattle for a source of protein. You can get it from beef or you can get it from plants. But the problem is that if you start culling cattle, you now have a higher dependency on plant protein. But there's not a one-to-one trade-off here. You can't just take the land that you have cattle on and assume that you're going to be able to use it for crop farming, because a lot of the land that cows are on is not sustainable to grow crops. Take Australia, for example. It's a very dry country. You can spread cattle out over a vast area and sustain a large cattle herd, but you can't grow crops on any of that land. So just because you're giving something up, trying to reduce emissions, you're not guaranteed to make up the resources in another area. This is just an outrageous idea, and it's very dangerous. And it's not about climate change at all. It's about money. It's about control. It's as simple as that. I mean, if you're thinking that culling cattle will reduce emissions, then you're actually better off probably culling some of the members of Congress, because they spit more shit out during a congressional hearing than the total population of cattle in the entire world. And it's not even close.